Hey everybody, and welcome back. Well, I hope I didn't disappoint too many people with the last video, with it coming out in the middle of the week. As I pointed out, I hope I remembered to put a little note on to say that I had a computer problem. In fact, I had the same computer problem as last time, the graphics card overheating. And it happened right on the Saturday. I couldn't fit the last piece of video I'd taken. I couldn't get it to process, and I certainly wouldn't have been able to, wouldn't have stayed on long enough to upload it and publish it. Well, this is the annoying thing, you see. It's just the graphics card that overheats. So the computer's working perfectly, the sound, everything, but I just can't see anything. So I can't even shut it down because there's no cursor, there's nothing. So anyway, cut a long story short, I took it back to the really good computer repair place I go to, and I said, sorry, that fix from April when you cleaned it all out and everything like that. I said, just put a new graphics card in with a better fan. And so they did that. I took it in the first thing Monday morning. I got it back on the Wednesday, and that's why you saw the video on the Wednesday. So it throws us out a little bit. But anyway, as I say, hope it didn't spoil your Sunday tea time, those in the UK certainly. Alright, so we're back with this. I was hoping that video you just watched was going to be the last one, but it's not. So anyway, what we're going to do with this is I'm going to have a go at retarding the ignition timing. Okay, we'll show you all that. If I screw it up, doesn't matter, because a new flywheel is only $40. It's not like I'm working with the Electrics world, and if I blow it all up, it's going to cost me $300 or whatever. So I've done something already with the carb, so I won't natter on. I'll just bring you in, and we'll start looking and see if we can get this thing sorted. Right, well, so I didn't video doing this little job for two reasons. First of all, I didn't have the camera with me when I did it. I actually just popped out to look at it, and as I'll explain, I got it done, and secondly, it wasn't worth videoing. So, keeping this carb on. Now, if any of you are thinking to yourself, well, hang on a minute, you know it's not the carb, and that's a much better carburetor that you've got on the OKO, why not just put it back on? Well, the reason is because I bought this and it fits and it works on this, whereas the OKO I can put on any project I want that needs a 24mm carb. So I'm just going to leave this on. So that left me having to connect it to the airbox because this was much smaller. So as I say, I came out to look at it and I was thinking about all sorts of, you know, how to get this big down to that size. So I found a piece of nice rubber tubing I had, thick wall. It's hang on a second. Hang on a second. It's further away than I thought it was. I know you like these little gaps so you can dip a ginger biscuit in your tea or something. So I had this, which as you can see is quite firm. I don't know what it's for. Just says straight hose, 1.5 inch, made in Mexico. I think it's for radiators actually, so that's all right because there's only air here. So it's 1.5 inch. I thought, oh great, so I can get it to a piece of tube and cut this off, and then it turns out that it was a tight fit. You know, I had to sort of inveigle it onto the carburetor, and it was a tight inside fit. I had to push it right in to go into there. So I just cut a length about this long, pushed it into there, put it on the carb, fastened that on, and I didn't have to redo anything. So we've got an air filter on the carburetor, and when I put it on, I lowered the bike and gave it a kick to start it, and it just kicked back straight away. So we know it's not that. So let's go around now and have a look at how we're going to hopefully retard the ignition a bit. Now then, I was just going to start and take this off, and then I thought to myself, You know what? Why is that there? I think I took this off when I first got the engine. But I thought to myself, why have they put a little cover on here? Now we know it's a copy of the Honda CG engine. But the Honda CG engine, I've looked pictures of it to see if it was identical, doesn't have the starter motor and all this. So this thing here, this big complicated die casting, if they made it like that, with electronic ignition and everything, I thought maybe that's where the original points cover was or something. But no, this is a new casting. So why did they bother putting that on there? I've got a feeling there's absolutely nothing in here. But then I got thinking, well, maybe there is something. Maybe it's actually something to do with, I don't know, the pickup for electronic ignition or whatever. It's probably absolutely nothing. But we'll have a look anyway, because we're not doing anything else, are we? No, I certainly am not. No, you ain't dead, Okay. Here it comes. Ta-da! Absolutely nothing. There's an O-ring on that. All there is here is like a tunnel down to the nut. But you wouldn't want to take that nut off. You wouldn't want to take that nut off with this on, because the only reason you take that bolt out is to take the flywheel off. And obviously you can't take the flywheel off if that's there. So why is that there? There's absolutely nothing in there. That's very mysterious. Huh. I think as well, while we got this off, I'll take the, I think I'll take the coils out alright and everything off. We'll cut this bloody thing off and weld up a cover. Because as I say, I can you see that? Hang on. Yes, you can see it. This is nicely out the way, by the way. It doesn't come in. I can easily push it to get first, but it's getting my boot on to get it back. If that wasn't there, I could just be really easy. So I think it's worthwhile taking this off. Gives me something to do as well. Hang on, I'm not going to make you watch me take all these bolts off. Let me get the cover off and then we'll come back. Alright, so there's the little bump. What is it? A Hall effect? Or whatever they call it. That when it goes past that, triggers the signal. Now as you can see, I mean I mentioned this, I don't know if you've seen it before, this thing is fastened onto two pillars. There's no slots or anything. This is keyed onto there, so can't adjust that, can't adjust the pickup. Why is it kicking back? Don't know. No, this thing was really expensive. I wouldn't start messing around in case I screw this up and it's got nothing to do with this, but I don't see it can be anything else. I've had all sorts of comments, I've checked things, many of the things people have mentioned I have checked, maybe just not mentioned it, but we're going to try this anyway. So what we're going to do is the flywheel goes around anti-clockwise. So if you imagine this was a points ignition, that would be the bump on the cam, the points would be here. So if we want to retard the ignition, actually it would be the points that would move. We'd move the points this way So it was later in the cycle that the ignition cam opened the points. So we can't move the points. So what we want is that to get here later in the cycle. So the thing to do is to move it back here. Well, obviously it doesn't move. But what we can do, I'm sure it starts to do its signal with this leading edge. So what we're going to do is we're going to grind off a little bit of that. We're going to shorten this. We're going to make the leading edge come to the pickup later in the rotation. So I don't want to take all this off. So what I'm going to do is we'll mask this up, and then I'm going to use a rotary grinder that's going to throw what's what out this way, but we'll have it all nicely masked up. I think that'll be easier. And I've also thought about this. I'm not going to take these out. It's a lot easier to just disconnect these couple of wires, because the welding's not going to affect it, because it's not connected to anything. So let me take those wires off and get that thing off there. And then we have our two jobs to do. Cut that thing off and weld a blanking piece in and do that. Right, so I've taken this off and I've just been working out where I'm going to cut it. But I thought before I do that, I've got another piece of it. We will try welding on that to make sure we can put a plate on that if we cut it. Because if I can't weld it, then I won't cut it. So let me try a bit of weld on that. Well, there's the answer to that. I have no idea. That was sanded to make sure there's no paint, although actually there's no paint on this side. Stainless steel wire brush, washed with acetone. Look at it. Well, don't think there's much aluminium in this alloy. It's got a very zinky look to it, actually. Pot metal-y type look. So that's possibly one of the reasons why they're so cheap. Although it could be just the, you know, the outer covers that are that. But whatever. Can't weld that. So we can't do anything to the cases. Alright, let's go and see about this ignition timing. Alright, so I've got this all packed with cloth, closed up the end so nothing can go inside. This says it rotates that way, so that'll throw the stuff this way. Probably going to catch the cloth. Made a little mark on there. Sorry about the compressor coming on there, as if the actual thing wasn't loud enough. I was getting too close to the face of that with that one, so I'm going to use the very edge of this. Actually, I'm going to have to move you because you're in the way. Right, I've taken about 1/8 of an inch off. You can see I used, that thing worked quite well, and then I just used a small, actually a broken one because it made a better end, triangular file. Make sure that was alright, and that's still a nice square edge. Right, so let me put this all back together again, and then we'll see what happens. Right, everything's back together. Okay, trip down to Ladbrokes for our UK viewers. What's the betting? It won't even start at all now. It's either not going to make any difference or it's going to be worse. Let me tighten this footrest up so that it's not flopping down all the time. Alright, try again. Make sure I've got the petrol and everything on. Put the choke on. Oh well. What the hell is this? Now this is something, I don't know, it's just something. I'm going to try and talk to somebody about this. I've looked for stuff on the internet, but I think I need to talk to somebody who's got one of these engines. There's a Chinese owner's bulletin board thing. I better sign up for that. Alright, until another day. Alright, I have to admit I'm flailing here. God, I've been working on bikes for 60 years. If this was a bike with points, I'd just say it was ignition. As far as I'm concerned, if you're getting a kickback through the Kickstarter, your flame spread from your ignition is happening early enough that the piston hasn't gone over top dead center for whatever reason, but it's kicking the piston back down. Alright, as I say, I may be wrong, who knows. But with electronic ignition, A, I don't have a lot of experience of it, and B, every single electronic ignition I've used, I've just put on and it's worked. The PVLs and the Electrex World, I've never had a problem with them. Boyer Branston, in the past I have. Never liked Boyer Branston. They're so affected by the voltage, all sorts of things. I mean, I had one B44 in here that just kicked back and kicked back and kicked back, and I kept moving the ignition and retarding it and it still kicked back. And when I spoke to Boyer Branston, they said, oh, once you get below, I don't know, 11 volts, the unit will just spark indiscriminately. So anyway, as I say, I really am perplexed by this, but I've had lots of comments. I'll be honest again, I don't understand why you think valve timing and stuff is going to affect it, but who knows. So one of the things is I got a comment, I've got your name, sorry, chap with a 350 Enfield, saying that sometimes if he hasn't tickled his Enfield enough so it's got enough fuel, it'll kick back. And my Enfields do that. Every now and again, either a half-hearted kick or when they're cold, they'll kick back once, and then the other 1,000 times they don't. So I thought, all right, the adjustment screw for the tick over is at the front of the carb, the cylinder end of the carb, so it's a fuel one. So it seemed to be screwed in a long way. I've screwed it out 2.5 turns as a starting point. I also thought, bugger it, I'm going to put in a bigger pilot jet. Well, the reason you're looking at this is because I've never seen a pilot jet like that. I have 3 different kinds of pilot jets here for the various carbs I use, Japanese ones, Mikuni type, you know, and I don't have anything like that. It's very short, it's a dumpy little thing, large diameter, so it's a very small jet. I mean, the hole in it is tiny, but I don't want to start boring it out because I don't know if I'll never be able to get another one that size or that type. So anyway, let me put the carb back together. We'll see if screwing out the adjuster screw does any difference. Then I guess I'm going to look at valves, so hold on a bit. Right, got it back together, got the choke on. I have a long, thin, tapered, you could almost say needle, that I made up a while ago, because I've used carbs where the jets that came with it didn't have a number on. So what it is, it's long and thin, and then I put some of the marking dye on it and just press it into the hole, give it a turn, not enough to sort of affect the hole, but when I pull it out I've got a mark on it, and then I can put it in other jets to see which size jet it goes up to the marking, and then I roughly sized it. So I used that, I'd looked through a tiny hole, so I used that just to see what size hole it was. That's how I found out it was so small. Then when I looked up through it, it looked a lot bigger. So I don't know if there was something bunging it up. I might be grasping at straws here. Don't think it was still full of fuel. I think I'd blown it out. But anyway, with my memory, maybe I didn't. Maybe it was just fuel in it that was making it look smaller. Anyway, as I say, I've got the choke on. Let's see what happens. Take it past top dead centre. Now of course we could say it wonderful, but was it in the last video where I kicked it 4 times and then the 5th time it kicked back? Anyway, let's see. Take it past compression again. Throttle this time. Alright, it's not that. Let's start looking at valves. Don't know why. I can understand valve timing or valve clearance causing it to spit back, but not actually kick back. That's got to be getting the pressure of the ignition down on the piston. I thought maybe the extra flywheel would help, because as I mentioned with the my Enfield, if it's a lazy kick, then I don't think I've got enough inertia, because obviously the spark happens before top dead center. It does that to allow the flame front to spread right through, so that when the piston's over, you've got maximum burn, you've got maximum power. So it's starting to create pressure as the piston's coming up that last 30 degrees or whatever for the ignition. But generally the engine's got enough inertia in its movement that it overcomes that little bit of pushback, and it's not until it's up and over top dead centre that pushback is more than the mass of the piston and the flywheels, the inertia that it's carrying. So, but as I say, what do I know? Let me pop the tank off and we'll have a look first at the valve clearances. Right, so before I start looking at the valves, I took this cover off. I don't know if this is what it's for, but it suddenly struck me if I take that cover off I can get a socket on the end of the crankshaft. And I got the plug out and I got a rod in there, and I took it round till I got it to top dead centre, And I took this, as I said, took this plug out here as well. And the T mark, which I believe is for top dead centre, is exactly in the centre of this hole. So if that's, you know, I mean, there's no mark. No, there's no date and mark, but it is absolutely dead central there. And I've been rocking it over it. That's spot on top dead centre. So it would look as if the flywheel is in the right place. So let me take the tank off so we can have a look at the valve clearances. Alright, so I've taken the rocker cover off. First thing I notice is it's getting well oiled. There's lots of oil everywhere. So, little clearance there. I don't know which top dead centre I'm at yet. So I think that must be the compression stroke. There's a little bit of clearance. So we should get exhaust valve opening first. Turn the engine over the right way. There's the exhaust valve starting. I'm going slowly because I'm watching in the thing for the top dead centre. Right, there's the two little marks. I'm not quite sure what they're for. There's the F. There's the T. Alright, that's closing. The inlet is opening. That's still open a bit. Back to T. No play at all on that. Oh, let me get a couple of God. Oh, that was tight. Got the tiniest, God knows what I'm going to use to do that. I'm just going to leave you running so you can watch all this. Can I use it with a small adjustable? The moment. That's T. That one's got clearance now. That one's got about the same clearance. Do you know, I had a couple of people say, oh, the exhaust valve's closed up. I don't understand that. Anyway, that seems to be right. Should I, while I've got everything like this, take this cover off? Apparently once I take this cover off on this side, I can see the timing marks for the actual valve wheels, the gear wheels, the camshaft. Might as well, let me do that. So let me switch you off while I get, because I've got to take the flywheel off to do it, but hey. Right, so there's the little bump at top dead centre. Now, the pickup is in between these two mounting holes, which are 3 inches apart, and I would say, hang on, I'll show you rather than saying right, there's the cover. So I would say that pickup is from this top hole, I'm going centre to centre, I would say that that pickup is 1 5/8 from the centre of that hole. Alright, 1 5/8. Oh, hang on, I'm going to move you back now. One 5/8 from the top hole, I said, didn't I? Yeah. Centre to centre, 3 inches, 1. Whoa, that's 2 1/4 inches at the T mark. Let's see what it is. If I put the T mark is, as I say, this is a little, not exactly hit and miss, but it's not perfectly accurate. It's nowhere near accurate. That's still 2 inches, that leading edge. The centre of it, is 1 5/8. So, you know, this isn't accurate enough to tell us what the timing is, but okay, let me get this off so I can have a look at the valve timing. Alright, so this little plate has a spring under it. And this actually turns, so the plate holds that in position. You just start to pull that out. That is the shaft. That is a shaft that something turns on. So I don't want to pull it out because that might mean something will fall in. This I'm pretty sure is where the camshaft is. Hang on. I'll lift you up a bit. I've got to find a video of somebody putting it. I was watching one the other day, and that is in, and they sort of put the camshaft in here and it drops on, and then I think they put a shaft in there. I think they put a shaft in there to hold it. How did they get the drive from the crank? There must be a gear there and a gear there. I could have sworn the video I was watching, he matched up. Yeah, that was it. He had the cylinder was still off. He put this gear wheel in, lined it up, and then he put that shaft in. So, as I say, I didn't pull that out. If I pull that out, anything could happen. And I'd probably end up then having to take the top end off completely just to get at that. No, I'm baffled. I mean, it could be a complete manufacturing, but you see, the thing that keeps coming back to me is that sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't. It does. I'm just standing here looking in, hang on, looking inside that. As I say, that's on 2 bolt set. I don't see that that is at all movable. That one's just the generator coil for it. The other 7 are for lights and things when this is in a road bike. God. I wonder if I can find a way to test when I get a signal. I don't know if I can, because I think the Hall effect thing is entirely to do with that moving through there. Oh, I've got to go and do some more research on this. Wish to God I could find somebody that actually works on these things. Alright. Well, I'll put it all back together again. Just tried a kick. Kickstart got halfway down. You know, I took it over top dead centre. Kickstart got halfway down and then bang. I mean, it was solid. It's got to be ignition timing. It is firing at the wrong time. The only other thing I can think of now is this. I've got to look, see if there's a way to test the pickup. It's the only other thing I can think of. We've tried a couple of different CDI boxes. We've tried a couple of different carburetors. The only other thing is that pickup. Anyway, it's lunchtime. I was going to ride today, but it's been raining, although it looks bright out there now. I might still go out. I can't believe this. I mean, the whole point of putting this engine in was, oh, it's a brand new engine. I don't have to worry about anything. There you go. All right, see you later. All right, well, I've got a little story. I want to tell you a story. Who remembers him? All right. So, Saturday, you may remember, I thought I was going to go out riding. So when I went to get the greaser, front tyre was flat. In fact, when I went to take the dust cap off, the whole valve just turned. So I was all ready to go out. I thought, okay. So I took the Enfield out. And great ride, but I just thought, oh, I could just do with tweaking the carb a little bit. So I took it out again on Sunday and I was thinking, yeah, it's just, I was on the overrun, I was getting a little bit of a pop, pop, pop and a little bit of spit. I thought, okay. So I've got a 26mm OKO on that. And I thought, oh, I know what, I've got the 24mm OKO I took off it, just out of interest. So I swapped them over, kept the jet in the same. And actually I've just been, it's wet today, but in a little break in the rain, I just took it out and it runs really nicely. Now I've mentioned about the choke size on the OKOs sort of being like the cutaway on the throttle slide. It ran really nice, really clean. I was pleased with it. Fine. So then I thought, hang on, I've got this 26mm OKO now, and that funny little carb I bought is 26mm, and when I was trying to read up on carbs, everybody with a 250 was saying to put a 30mm on. So just as a bit of daftness, I put the 26mm on with the jetting I had before, and I think I've had one kickback, and I've been starting this thing all morning. It starts with the throttle closed, idles nicely, there's a good tick over, and it just seems fine. So a piece of serendipity there, and as I always like to be honest in these videos, I've got to say I'm just surprised. I was absolutely certain, although I don't see how it could have happened, that it was ignition. But once again I was wrong. Now of course, having said all of that, you know what's going to happen. This damn thing's going to kick back now. But I don't know, I've lost count of how many times I've started it from cold, using the choke, and it's warmed up now, because as I say, I've been. So if I take it past top dead centre, which is strange, it has two. I don't know if this has got an automatic decompressor on it. Throttle closed. Now as I say, I've been started it with a choke on, first thing, and it was fine. Don't think it kicked back at all. Now I went for lunch, just come back, cooled down, so I put the choke on, it started, I put the choke off. That must be about the 5th time I've started it since lunchtime. I think it kicked back once this morning. But basically, no. So, as I say, I'll be perfectly frank with you, I'm surprised it was that. I was sworn blind that that kickback had to be ignition. It had to be advanced ignition. I mean, I remember when I restored the Gold Star, the DBD34. It had its AML GP carb on, and it was a bug at the start, because you know the AML GP does not have a pilot system at all. And just out of interest, I had a little, God, I don't know what size it was, a little old Mikuni. So I made up a quick manifold, put the Mikuni on, and that Gold Star started every time. But neither carb made it kick back. The Triumph 350 that's in my opening credits, when I built that for Bob, I had a little Mikuni on it. He changed it for a concentric. But again, you know, I've swapped carbs, I've had carbs that were completely wrong on things. I've never had this happen. So there you go. It's like always when you're learning something. You can be told how to do a thing a lot of different ways, and you're trying and this, that and the other, but there's one lesson you don't forget, and that's when you find out the way it won't work. So once again, you're learning from me, because I was completely baffled. Anyway, I've waffled enough. It's time to finish off this week. So what's that, lorry? That's a bit of a noisy pickup. So I've got to get your postage under this. But basically, I'm going to call this finished, and if the weather warms up a little bit, I'll take it out. We'll maybe do some more riding with it. But now we've got to think what we're going to do next, and I'm not sure. I've got all sorts of stuff I want to do in the garage, which I don't really want to video. So I might even take another couple of weeks off, get things organised, or do another couple of, you know, odd weeks off, whatever. That's enough for this week. So until I will see you next week, but don't know what. I'll just say stay safe and enjoy yourselves.